Hello and welcome to Life as It Is with me, Dora Middleton. And in this segment today, I would like to talk about what's going on with food stamps. And everyone out here knows right now there's about 42 million people on food stamps. And they are talking about new restrictions and on people that's receiving them. Now, someone asked me to check out a video. There was a video in this woman in this video was talking about why she feels able-bodied people shouldn't be on food stamps, this, that, and the other. And if they're on these stamps, then they're lazy. I can't agree with what she's saying. I cannot agree with what she's saying. And to be honest, I think she's a little bit biased at the situation. She's gearing more to, I guess what I'm trying to say is, of course, this woman is a Republican. Throughout the whole video, she's yelling, Trump is right about everything. But she's so in tune into saying how right he is, she's not really saying what he's right about. I mean, it's like she's his number one cheerleader. All she needs is her pom-poms or, whatever it is. But I don't think she has the facts straight. And it's sad that this woman will use this platform that she has on YouTube to talk down on so many people. And for her to say that because people happen to be on the food stamp program that they're lazy. No, that's not true. She doesn't know what type of hard times they've fallen on. I work. They take taxes out of my check. I'm not complaining about people using my tax. If they need to be on these programs, then they need it. Okay, so what would she rather do? Have children out there starving? They've already changed it to where one thing I don't agree with is how in schools, if a child doesn't have lunch money, they feed them peanut butter. Why would you feed them a peanut butter sandwich instead of giving these kids a full meal like the rest of them? I can remember when my daughter was in school, my oldest daughter, she came home and told me, well, there was a little boy that was hungry and I had money and I was going to buy him a lunch and they wouldn't let me buy it for him. I said, okay, that's ridiculous. So I called up there and I spoke with the principal and I asked him why they wouldn't allow my daughter to buy that child's lunch. And he said, well, it's just the rules. You can't buy them you can't buy them food if they don't have lunch money. We just feed the kids a peanut butter sandwich. I said, okay, so you rather feed this child peanut butter rather than let them get a hot lunch. So what I explained to them is what I'm going to do is put even more money on my daughter's lunch account. So when she purchases her lunch, I'm going to instruct her to purchase too. And when she does that, if there's a child there that does not have lunch, I've instructed my daughter to give that child that extra lunch. And I dare someone to tell me she can't do it. Because for one, that's my money. Okay, that's my money I worked for. So if I want to use my money to help someone else's child eat, then that's my money to do so. And it totally just pissed me off because are we that cruel in this world today to where you rather see a child starve? And I guess they're saying, well, the child isn't starving, he's getting peanut butter. And I'm going to go back a little further. When I can recall when I was in elementary school, the kids that didn't have food, I can remember sitting at the table and we would turn around because there's a couple little kids. They had this back table where they would put the kids that didn't have money to eat. They would sit them all at this table in the back. So all of us kids in the front of the cafeteria would be looking. We would turn around and look like, why are these kids sitting at this back table? And it's because they didn't have money to eat. So they would give them a sandwich. And then another thing I didn't agree with was how they would sit the kids off to themselves. So they already don't have money to eat with, and they're hungry, and you're feeding them like they're some type of dog, just throwing them a bone. You're setting them off from all of us, from all of the other kids, making it seem like they've done something wrong. And I can remember coming home telling my parents, well, they had these kids sitting at the back table, and they said the kids didn't have any money to buy lunch. They didn't have any food. They just gave them a sandwich. That was sad. That was really sad. And still, at this day and age, even when my oldest child was in school, she came home and told me the same thing. Well, they sit these kids off by themselves if they can't afford lunch. Why are you punishing them because their parents aren't able to send them to school with lunch money or lunch? Why can't you just give them some food to eat? Is it asking too much for you all to feed these kids that are needy? Again, all I can say is that it's so many cruel people in this world. And I've done a segment on this before, how you can feed any stray animal on the street. But in certain states or cities, if you feed the homeless, you're committing a crime. It's a crime to feed the homeless. What kind of country are we living in? What kind of world are we living in to where it's okay to feed animals, but you can't feed humans? I get so tongue-tied because it just pisses me off. And then to go on this woman's page and to hear her go on and on about how people are lazy because as long as you have hands, you can always work. Lady, she doesn't have a clue to what is going on in people's households. And when this young lady asked me to view this video, I kind of didn't, I didn't do it because I felt that it was going to be something ignorant that some ignorant person would be saying. And that's exactly what it was. But I went over to her YouTube page and I watched a couple of her videos. The woman doesn't need a platform to talk on. The woman shouldn't even be allowed to talk. That's how ignorant she is. To call someone lazy because they've fallen on hard times is ridiculous. And she's always talking about who's lazy and who shouldn't, be able to get this or who shouldn't be able to get that. But if you listen to her video, when she was going on and on about her stories of how her father always worked and he started working young, most of our parents back in those days started working very young. They had to. Okay. She's comparing everyone to our parents. Okay. We're in a different time now. All right. There's a lot going against people these days. You have people with college degrees that can't even get jobs. There's people out there with master's degrees that cannot get a job. It's not that they don't want one. It's because the people that's hiring rather pay someone much less to take that job that they have to train rather than give it to the person that they have to pay a lot of money to that is trained to do that job. I mean, it's just so much that is going against people. And for her to use her platform to call people lazy, and the only lazy person that I can see is her, because she's sitting on this sofa. She's criticizing anyone and everyone. Okay. And she's sitting here saying how people were cutting her lawn. This guy came and asked her if he can cut her lawn. And then he stopped cutting it because he opened up two side businesses of his own, and he couldn't cut her grass. So then she said another woman came by and asked me if I if she could cut her grass. But here's the funny thing about this video here. She's sitting here saying these people are asking her if they could cut her lawn. Maybe the lawn was too damn high. You know what I'm saying? And these people probably felt somebody needed to cut the lawn, because not one time did she say she tried to get her ass up off that sofa and cut her own damn lawn. No, she didn't do that. So when the second person came to her and asked if they could cut her lawn, she said, oh yeah, go ahead and cut it because it's really high. Oops, did I just hear it's really high? Now, if your lawn is really high and you are an able-bodied person, why haven't you cut your own lawn? Why are you sitting back waiting for someone else to cut your lawn? I've been cutting my lawn since I had my own house, okay? And even as a child growing up, I used to cut the lawn. I didn't wait for my dad to do it. I used it as a way to exercise. So I would go outside and cut the front and the back. And we had a very large backyard and a medium-sized front yard. Okay, and I cut it with no problem. Okay, so even now I cut my own lawn. So I want to know what's stopping her from cutting her own lawn. Is she lazy? To me, it sounds like she's being lazy. Why would you have to pay someone to do something that you can do yourself? I can recall painting my own house from top to bottom when I was about, 7-8 months pregnant. Standing on chairs, standing on ladders, painted the whole house. Okay? But she wants to sit here and talk down on other people. People like that really need to be, they are so judgmental. Just look at yourself in the mirror and correct yourself before you try to tell other people what's wrong with them. Find out who you are, because it sounds like to me the only lazy one is her. And for her to sit here and put someone else down because they've actually have gone into some type of hardship for some reason or another, she wants to say they're lazy. What she's failing to realize is you have people out there, they have to decide with the little money that they make. Some of these jobs don't pay much of anything, okay? And then they don't have medical insurance. These people have children. They have, spouses. They have people there's things that everyone in that household needs, and with only one check some of the time. So they have to figure out what can be paid and what they can't pay. So sometimes you have the elderly deciding, do I pay rent or do I pick up my medication? Most of the time, of course, they're going to pay their rent. So then they can't take their medication and they need their meds. They can't afford to pay utilities because they have to eat. So then they might be sitting in the cold or in the dark. Lady, get a clue. For you to sit here and assume you know what's going on inside of these people's households makes me totally sick. I was so disgusted watching that video, and I really wanted to leave her a long message. But of course, she knows what she's saying is pure evil, so therefore she blocks out comments. You can't comment on her page. If you're going to issue out that bullshit, then leave your comments open so that people can communicate with you and let you know where you're wrong at. Give the person the right to come back and tell you this is why what you're saying is not true. It's called having a conversation. But what she's doing is totally one-sided. You spit out you're spitting out all of this evil, but then you're making sure that no one can come back and correct you on it. Now, with my podcast, with my segments, you can always send me a message. I don't block out anything. You have the right to respond in any kind of way to anything that I've said. And I welcome that. I tell people, feel free to email me. I look forward to talking to you about my segments. If you disagree with anything that I said, you have the right to do so. And you can write that down. You have the right to tell me, well, I feel this way about what you just said. I'm not going to block out comments because I'm not hiding. She's hiding because she knows that she's saying these things, and it's not true. It's totally ignorant, but she's going to make sure that no one comes behind her and says anything else because she's blocked off her comments. So I just wanted to touch base on this situation with the food stamps. No, being on food stamps does not classify you as being lazy. You could have gone through something. There could be issues with your family to where you're unable to work. You could be taking care of someone else. You could be at the present time looking for a job. Just because you're searching or you're job hunting does not mean that you're going to get a job. These days, and it's a proven fact that some of these people that they hire you according to your race. They hire you according to how you look. It has little to do with education these days. They will hire people that's not qualified for the position so that they can pay them less money rather than hire you when you're qualified with the education and the experience, but they're not going to hire you because it costs too much to hire you. They rather hire someone that they can train, that they don't have to pay a lot to, and that they don't have to offer insurance to. So you don't know what's going on in these people's lives. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know how they got in the situation that they're in. So please, lady, and if you listen to my segment, please, I'm telling you, get a damn clue and stop spitting out all of your damn evil and trying to make people out to be bad people because they might need some government assistance in their lives. Because one day, you don't know what God might have in store for you. One day you might be in that line looking for some food stamp assistance or something other than that. Who knows? You don't know what you might have to go through. And then you might have a person that spits out the same kind of ignorant hate or ignorant, disgusting messages that you spit out, doing the same thing to you. And I say hate because I've looked at quite a few of her videos, and this woman is very angry. It seems like she has a problem with her own race, and and I have to say it, this is a black woman, and the things that she was saying about her own race is just ridiculous. Everything that she said in her videos seems like it was geared toward downing her own race. So apparently this woman has some kind of complex problem. She has a problem with who she is. She doesn't like herself. And every video that she has should be removed. And anyone that agrees with her must be just as ignorant as she is, because the woman is not saying anything positive. It's all full of anger and hatred. And that is not the way to be. All right, I need to take a quick break and I will be right back.